Welcome, everyone. Today, we are joined by Dr. Giuseppe Maffi, a leading expert in nutrition, mitochondrial health, epigenetics, and ketogenic science. As a founding member of WAPS and a consultant to top nutraceutical companies, he specializes in oxidative stress, anti-aging, and the impact of metabolism on longevity. With extensive research in mitochondrial function and ketogenic therapies, Dr. Maffi is at the forefront of personalized health and well-aging strategies. We're excited to dive into this insight on optimizing health at a cellular level with Dr. Maffi. Welcome, Dr. Maffi.
Welcome, Mary. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really excited to stay with you and with other colleagues and friends. And so thank you for the invitation and to start this a series of events together.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. So your background, Dr. Maffi, spans multiple disciplines, from oxidative stress monitoring to epigenetics and nutraceutical consulting. What inspired you to focus on these fields, and how do they intersect into your work?
I think and I believe that epigenetics today represents the real keystone in the history of humanity. For the first time, our destiny is really in our hands. That's the change of paradigm. For the first time, our destiny is really in our hands and no longer only in the genes received from our relatives and parents. Oxidative stress is strictly connected, is strongly linked to the environment, and so with the happy genetic situation. And the solution today is in the diet, in the food, but even more in a nutraceutical food supplement. And in the next step, I deepen in these specific topics.
Yes, wonderful. Well, this is part one, and part two, we're going to be delving into a deeper conversation leading from this recording. So let's talk about mitochondrial and antioxidant mechanisms. Mitochondrial health is often overlooked in mainstream medicine. Can you explain why mitochondria plays such a critical role in overall health and aging?
The mitochondria finally is in the center of scientific research. There is a mitochondrial medicine, not a case. The mitochondria are the energy motor of the cells and therefore of our organism. The proper functioning of our whole organism depend on these small organs, and the perfect health of this organ represent the basis, the pillars on our health.
Right. Okay. So oxidative stress is a major driver in chronic disease. What are the most effective strategies, both in lifestyle and therapeutic, for mitigating oxidative damage at a cellular level?
Just as mitochondria are the basis and the column, the pillars of our health, so the biochemical balance between free radicals and antioxidant, as macronutrients and vitamins, is the basis on which we build our well-being. Our defenses, our protection are represented by exogenous antioxidants, such as, for example, vitamins, and endogenous one, for example, glutathione and superoxidase dismutase. Important source of antioxidant are fruits and vegetables, first of all. However, today, the production process and distribution cause the nutritional values of this food have been reduced. And in front of a significant increase of free radicals combined with the environment, I think, for example, pollution, radiation, electromagnetism, the use of high titration and high bioavailability supplements and nutraceutical represent the first important answer. And so it's absolutely essential.
I love that. And I think maybe we should dive into that kind of topic on our next call, because I think that, even when you talk about cruciferous vegetables and the benefits of those with breast cancer and prostate cancer, it's been kind of overlooked, I feel, but these cruciferous vegetables have got such health benefits, and maybe we could dive into that, as you say. All right, let's go back to how do you assess mitochondrial functions and oxidative stress in your patients? Are there any specific biomarkers or tests that are
Yes,
particularly
sure. Yes,
valuable?
yes, it's mandatory for us, for the professionist, to have a sort of cockpit able to measure and follow and monitoring the situation within the body, but specifically within the cells. Today, we have, first of all, two main solution. The golden standard test for evaluating oxidative stress is the DROM test. Published, it's a test published on the Medline and absolutely evidence-based basis in the approach. This test can evaluate the exposure of cell to oxidative stress with a measure of peroxides, that's a specific indication, and the response capacity and capability of our antioxidant, endogenous antioxidant. And so there is a sort of picture of the specific situation in terms of exposure to free radical, but also the capability and the endogenous reaction of our body to face this situation of free radical production. Another test that I'm usually using is the polymetabolic biomolecular test, based on typical gold standard, in that case of technology. It's a chromatography, spectroscopy chromatography. And this test, throughout the higher bulb organ, have the capability to predict the situation of metabolic imbalance of the cell and the consequent difficulties in countering oxidative stress. That's today the best solution. The traditional is a DROM, but the new one, the innovative approach, is, for example, connected with the BMT test. But BMT is also defined as epigenetic test. Without obviously invasive way, because of, for example, DROM use the blood differently for BMT test, because of, in that case, the only sample that you use is the bulb, and so hair bulbs.
Yes, I love that. I know personally myself, we've had a live blood analysis and hair analysis. We used to send it off to the US way back in the days. So I know that these tests are very valuable when it comes to, picking up anything that's potentially missing in our health or in our cellular structure, if you like. So you might have touched on this, lots of big words there, Dr. Maffi, but maybe we can get some data or something like that we can include as a reference to people that are watching these. You partially answered this question that I'm going to ask you next. And epigenetics is transforming our understanding of health and disease. I mean, the average person really wants to know a lot about this now. Can you share some of the most exciting breakthroughs in epigenetic therapies and how they're being applied in clinical practice?
Yes, I appreciate very much your sentence, epigenetic therapy, as you define, because of it's a therapy, or it's moving in a therapy direction. As you define, it's actually a multidisciplinary approach, able to monitor all those indicators, mainly environmental, for example, diet, physical activity, exposure to chemical pollution or pollutants, but also electromagnetic radiation, is able to modify the in that case, the evaluation of this therapy is able to modify our epigenome. Epigenome is the plastic part of our genome. It's a real more sensitive to this small signal outside of our body. And the capability of this therapy to modify our epigenome it's a focus on the switching off of this. It's like a circuit breaker. We could open and close. In that case, the epigenetics is able to, in that case, switching off the genetic predisposition of the subject to develop some specific disease. That's crucial because of, as you know, we could really correlate this scientific approach to the prevention and the prediction activity for the future well-being of the subject.
Right. Excellent. You emphasize the interaction between environmental signals and biological adaptation. I can't even say the word. I need to learn Italian. Maybe I can ask you better. Adaptation. My apologies. How does this knowledge help us develop more personalized and effective treatments?
Yes, as you previously anticipated, it's a question of intervening on the weak signals that we receive at cellular level from our organism through the pillars of the diet. And so I think about vitamins, vitamin antioxidants, minerals, amino acids, of the physical activity that are strictly connected to our biomorphology type, of the protection against heavy metals that's in our environment from throughout water, air, and obviously food. The reduction of the hormone, for example, cortisol for stress control, fine dust, and electromagnetic radiation, such as, for example, 4G, 5G, but also gamma radiation and Hartmann nodes that are strictly connection to the booster of neurodegenerative, for example, illness and disease. That's the first pillars on which we are focusing our attention in terms of change everyday life habits, and eventually the proposal of protocols, food protocols, nutraceutical protocols, and also physical, as you know, as you specialties of this aspect, physical activity protocol. That's the first pillars on which we has to focalize our attention in terms of intervention.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I know personally myself, if I look at my biological, on a cellular level, all my family is actually quite obese. And so if I look at the biology of, my genetics, if you like, technically speaking, I should be overweight, And so the environment, from what you're saying, it's like, putting the environment, if you have a healthy environment and all the supplementation or the food that we eat, that obviously transforms into how our cellular structure is. And I know for a fact with myself, I have completely changed my way of doing things, especially in the last 2 decades. And I used to have blood tests all the time or live blood analysis. So I have seen things in front of my own eyes, how things change. And I always say to people, well, look, I don't want to be another statistic of what my family pool of genes is. And so I am determined to live longer and, function a lot better. And, I'm hitting 57 this year in a couple of months' time. And I really want to be able to, live longer, stronger, better, thrive, and be also, mentally strong. not go to the fridge and think like, what did I come to the fridge for? Or put things in the fridge that should go in the pantry, So it's that kind of life that we should be looking at. So I think definitely these effective treatments are now wanted by people, and they're asking, what are we doing? How do we test? What do I need personally myself? Let's not look at my genes, but factor in that as well. You come to a conclusive approach to treatment. So I would love to include some of your research that you have published. So we'll definitely get some of that happening and included. Let's go to nutraceuticals and biopharmaceuticals. You have consulted for multinational nutraceuticals and biopharmaceutical companies in the past. But most recently, you have been quite impressed with the intermittent fasting diet. Are there any promising new compounds or formulations that you're excited about?
Yes, I believe that intermittent fasting can be an extremely interesting answer to reduce cell damage due to oxidative stress. This situation causes cellular aging and death, and promote autophagy or cell recycling. That's a mechanism that removes damaged cells before they cause damage. However, it is a food protocol that requires professional supervision, also to avoid some possible side effects such as fatigue, lack of energy, or metabolic instability in some people. And here, some valuable nutraceutical come into play that can minimize this side effect. I think, for example, to electrolytes, so for example, minerals, sodium, magnesium, potassium, or medium chain triglycerides, MCT oil, branched chain amino acids, omega-3, B vitamins, and generally green tea, extract, or coffee. That's, for example, a real important protocol that we can use in combination with, in that case, intermittent fasting, because it's really important to manage in the first phase of the adherence of this protocol, in the first phase, because it's a more sensitive phase in which the organism change the source of energy with a switch from carbohydrates to fat. And though there is a sort of sensitive phase, if I manage this first phase in a right way and right direction, I could really follow up in a better solution of high positive effect of this kind of diet, if we could use the terms of diet, but in general way as a Greece definition, and in which the diet is not only a reduction of calories or food, but it's a global, holistic approach, also in terms of activities, mindset, new approach, yes, food, alimentation, and so on. And so that's the reason why I really focus my attention to intermittent fasting and partially to ketogenic diet.
Yes, let's talk about the ketogenic diet, because I know you're very famous for your ketogenic diet practices, and also, you've done quite extensive research on that and have had people working with you. Let's just talk from maybe a mental health or depression or anxiety factors, and how people have benefited from the ketogenic diet.
Yes, the first interesting aspect, and there are absolutely evidence-based medical result publication on Medline. One of the first interesting aspects for me in ketogenic diet is properly the reduction of inflammation and the capability of modulate and not blocked, but modulate, that's the right terms, the neurodegenerative process, for example, in Alzheimer's disease, in Parkinson's disease, also sometimes in anxiety and depression. And so one of the, it's not the only one positive result, but one of the most interesting is this reduction of inflammation and consequently also the modulation of neurodegenerative process in this specific disease or illness. And so it's really a prevention activity when the first signals arise. Connected with the ketogenic diet, as I suggest, as a ketogenic professional specialties, I suggest a gradual adaptation, starting with the ketogenic diet before introducing, for example, intermittent fasting, because of there is today innovation in the combination between ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. If you want, I could deepen in this aspect.
Yes, I think we are going to do another call on progressing from the ketogenic diet into intermittent fasting, because I think it really needs attention to detail as far as what your experience is and how you would transition somebody from ketogenic diet to the intermittent fasting, but not just intermittent fasting as most people are doing right now, but also we would like to talk about supplementing and why. We can touch on that in this call, but I wanted to also say, you're mentioning about the brain and the inflammation of the brain and how that affects, people who have got depression, or the inflammation can cause other, aspects of neurodegenerative diseases, as you said, with the other conditions. And it doesn't have to be an elderly person. These things can hit people in their 40s with Alzheimer's or, any of those neurological sort of diseases.
Yes. First of all, when we speak about, because I think in that case we could all people aligned, when we speaking about intermittent fasting, we speak about, for example, 16-8 fasting protocol, fast for 16 hours and eat within 8 hours window. For example, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., but it could really depend. And one of the best answer of in this case, intermittent fasting is the flexibility. Absolutely, we could adapt to your everyday life of this protocol. Obviously, in that case, we have to maintain a strategic supplementation, for example, during fasting with the electrolytes and MCT oil, green tea, and green tea, coffee and coffee. Before, for example, fasted workout, BCAA or electrolytes. And during the eating windows, we have to use omega-3 vitamins and quality protein, because of in that case, we could sustain, for example, with omega-3, the reduction of inflammation and support of brain function. That's, for example, the reason why we could, if it's possible, create specific protocols tailored of each person and subject, able to adapt the use of intermittent fasting with the combination of supplementation. The most interesting, as I told you, result is connected with the neurological disease, neurodegenerative disease. And so, for example, with the elderly patient or subject with the first signal of dementia, this is an example. Ecco, we could absolutely use this kind of protocol with the right combination of nutraceutical protocol. That's my suggestion also for elderly patients, because of, as you know, in this sensitive phase of our life, could really faster some degenerative cellular situation. And so it's the right moment to avoid this booster, this acceleration of a degenerative condition. That's the reason why I suggest this kind of protocol when we have patient or subject with, I underline and repeat, the small signal of our cells. And I suggest to hear this small signal. The body sends us the small signal. We have to maintain focus and attention with this small signal from our body, and immediately create the perfect condition to face this situation.
Yes, I love that. And I really feel that transitioning somebody from, the typical diet that a person would be having to the ketogenic diet, and then progressing them onto the intermittent fasting, or even intermittent fasting as whole. You and I know we've been talking about this extensively now. So the intermittent fasting protocol that you suggested, the 18 to 6, that's only one form of fasting. Other people just fast in the morning and they might have 3 meals. So it's very the range is wide, and different people have different fasting protocols to suit themselves. But I really feel that educating people on nutrition, not just the intermittent fasting benefits. I think also, as you say, people need minerals, especially women, and they need the magnesium. So understanding that a person needs extra nutrition just to help them fast track the intermittent fasting and taking omegas, that also is important. And of course, the autophagy takes place whether you're doing it with supplements or without supplements. But again, it's understanding why you should be taking supplements, because personally myself, I take omegas from the US. I bring some in and I absolutely love them because they're the cleanest that I can get. In Australia, we don't have omegas that are that clean. However, there's the MCT oil, so I would take that as well. And like I said, I just don't want to grow old in my brain. I don't want my children to go like, well, grandma's just getting a little bit old, So definitely. And we will talk about intermittent fasting and nutritional supplements in our next call.
Yes.
So now, given your expertise and research, what do you think is the future of preventative and regenerative holistic medicine, if you like? What does that look like in the next 10 years?
Very, very promising. Thanks to the new research on new active substances. For example, I think about the nutrient genomics approach, which can slow down processes otherwise destined for physiological progression. I'm thinking, for example, of molecules that can modulate the shortening of telomeres imputed to cell aging. That's, for example, a new innovative approach able to create several enzymes, for example, telomerase, able to modulate the shortening. As you know, if we could enter in this incredible world, we could help our well-aging to increase and maintain all positive aspects. For example, I specifically participate and attend to the clinical study in US with the use of some new nutrigenomic substances. For example, in that case, new substances connected with new substances, but now I prefer to present the result eventually in a next presentation. But I underline that this is the future. We could really enter in some deepening mechanism with respect to the nature, not with the chemical, not biochemical, but the natural approach. Use, for example, that the stem cells protocol, and in that way we could stimulate these enzymes to not block. It's impossible to block the aging, but modulate the aging, and so we could switch from typical terms anti-aging no, well-aging yes, and also longevity yes, but we could really manage in a perfect way our aging in the respect of the biological roles. That for me, one of the most interesting scenario in which our researchers are focusing and are developing. But I could use with you, Mary and Irene, the possibility and the capability to share with our colleagues in a sort of update events also these new research frontiers, if you appreciate this aspect.
Absolutely. We would love that. We didn't plan to talk about telomeres tonight, but I'm glad you brought it up because for those people that don't know what telomeres are, it's your chromosomes. So when you're born, you have X amount of chromosomes. And on the end of your chromosomes, you have tips on the chromosomes. And as you age, they shorten. And when you shorten, you age. And so what you want to do is actually delay the shortening of the chromosomes so that you stay as young as possible. And so there is certain supplementation that you can have so that you can delay your aging process. And I absolutely love this area. I think it was Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn from Melbourne in Australia who won the Nobel.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I follow this
You follow her?
professional
Yes.
knowledge.
And
Yes,
And there's another
yes.
doctor in US, Dr. Bill, I can't remember his last name on top of my head, but yes, I need more MCT oil for my brain. But yes, definitely Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn was the one who did extensive research on mice and how, they looked after mice that were going gray, and then they had them monitored, and all of a sudden they were having black hair regrowth. So fascinating field. I absolutely love it. I've been doing this for a long time, and this is the sort of things that on a genetic factor, I get super excited. And this is why I wanted to interview you, because your wealth of knowledge, and everybody, I feel that the field, nutrition and the fitness world is, especially in Australia, we're so behind. And things that I learned maybe 15 years ago, it's like now they're presenting it. I'm thinking, this is not news. This is old. It's just like you've just come across now. Where have you guys been? So I'm glad we touched on this, Dr. Maffi. Thank you for bringing it up. And we'll definitely touch on that, I think, in our next call. So it's so lovely to have you. Thank you so much. I look forward to our next interview, and we will bring more insightful and educational information on intermittent fasting, high-end nutrition, and how you too can really stay young for a long, long time and thrive, as a human, and just be amazing to yourself and everybody else around you. So thank you, Dr. Maffi, for your time. And I just really want to ask people if they have any other questions that we get to answer them. So on the platforms that we will
Absolutely.
put up, yes, we would love to have your questions, and we will come back to you. And by all means, we will include some research that Dr. Maffi has
Thank
as well.
you very much, Mary. Thank you very much. Really, I would appreciate your proposal, and I want to deepen with you some other researchers from my experience. Really, we could speak about other experiences also, for example, in biochemical point of view, from my experience directly with the Columbia University in terms of mitochondrial medicine. And so we are really other themed topics to discuss together.
Fantastic. That's Columbia University in New York.
Yeah, sure. With the specific mitochondria, with the neurological department in terms of degenerative, in this case, neurodegenerative situation.
Yes.
First of all, mitochondrial myopathy.
Yes.
Strongly connected with some neurodegenerative illness, and we used specific protocol with the focus on coenzyme Q10 with the carenone. That's strictly connected with mitochondria because, as you know, the coenzyme Q10 is within a mitochondrial process, Krebs cycle. And so it's a coenzyme able to maintain a sort of faster progression of energy production, but not only. It's an important coenzyme able to protect from free radicals. And so, as you know, there is really a word to deepening together.
Wonderful. Let's talk more about CoQ10 and the benefits of that in our next call. And anybody else that I have with any more questions, we'll propose those to you. And we'll look forward to having you on our next interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Maffi.
Thank you, Mary. Ciao.